But I guess what I'm confused about, and I'm only confused in the rhetorical sense because this is just my way of helping set you up. This is my way of tossing the softball. I'm confused because the progressive tax code is supposed to have been based on a moral judgment. I mean, the rich pay more, the poor pay less. It's more moral to do that. What's your answer to that? Isn't the progressive tax code built on an idea of morality as well?
It may be built on somebody's idea of morality, but I don't think it's a correct view of morality. As a Christian, I believe that from him to whom much has been given, much is expected.
Right.
But that's a personal or familial obligation. That's something that the individual and the family needs to work out together, with their God, their pastor, their extended family, whoever they want to take counsel from, and how they believe they should best support the people in their community or the people on the other side of the world who they want to support. It's not the government's role to make that decision for the family, for the individual wealth creator, wage earner, whatever you want to call the person. It's not. The government is there to protect people's rights so that they can exercise their moral freedom, not to make those judgments for them and then decide, they know better who to help, how to spend the money that we earn.
Now, this is the key part, because I just wrote about this in my column, my AIP column, this week, which is the reason why tax reform, I call it pet projects in tax reform. And I used a bill that's probably going to go nowhere called the HAPPY Act. I don't know if you've heard about this. This is and I forget what HAPPY stands for, but it's an actual acronym that was built for this legislation about making pet expenses deductible. And I don't know if you're familiar with this.
I've heard of it. When you tell me what it is, I have heard of it. I didn't know that was the name of it.
It's called the HAPPY Act.
The HAPPY Act.
The HAPPY Act. Because I guess they couldn't figure out a way to call it the Moral Act. It's the HAPPY Act. And it's not that I hate pets, because I love the dogs that I've had as pets over my lifetime. But the question is when you start building in all these deductions, is that deductions really are a form of having taxpayers subsidize other people's behaviors. And that gets to the root of why tax reform is so difficult in this country, is because it allows Congress to make all these choices that you were just talking about. It allows Congress to make all these choices that you were just talking about in our lives. And it allows them to basically conduct social engineering for what I'm sure they see are moral ends. For instance, I'm sure that people who are sponsoring the HAPPY Act think it's completely moral to have more people adopt pets, and so they're trying to encourage people to do that through the HAPPY Act. That's certainly one expression of morality in the tax code, but is morality based on other people making your choices for you? Is this sort of the key of what you're getting at in your book?
It's certainly a big part of what I'm getting at. This HAPPY Act, similar to what I was saying about the mortgage deduction. Sure, it's a good thing to own a home. It's a perfectly fine thing to have a pet. You teach children responsibility through pet ownership. That's great. It's just not a federal tax issue. It's not the kind of thing that we want government steering people into behavior-wise. What we want is for government to reduce the tax take so that the families who want to own pets can put their money toward that. Families that want to buy houses can put their money toward that. And, families that want to do something else can put their money toward that. They shouldn't have to consult with tax lawyers and accountants before they decide what the best economic decision is for their family. They should be able to consult among themselves and the people in their lives who they take counsel from, who they choose to take counsel from, not the government, not the lawyers, not the accountants, but the family and those closest to them.
And your book is called Slaying Leviathan, The Moral Case for Tax Reform. The reason why both of us keep looking over to the side is because you have it up at Amazon.com. And
I know the name of my book. But
yes, I've messed it up twice. So Slaying Leviathan, The Moral Case for Tax Reform. It's in hardcover right now, and it's available through Amazon.com. And when we post this up at Hot Air, of course, we'll have the link and the graphic up for it so that we can make sure that people have an opportunity to buy this. Do you think that the time is right for this book? And I'm going to ask you a political question now. Do you think, I mean, you had the Democrats have control of the House and Senate, you've got Barack Obama in the White House, they've rolled out a fairly robust liberal agenda, if not a radical liberal agenda, that is going to create the need for a lot of higher taxes. One would imagine that they're going to be pretty married to that progressive system that we've been talking about.
Oh, but taxes aren't going to go up on anyone making less than $250K.
And so you have drunk the Kool-Aid. No, obviously you have not drunk the Kool-Aid. I am teasing you. But, I mean, is this the right time for this book? Do you think people right now are ready to listen to what you have to say?
I absolutely do. I have been so encouraged over the last year. You know, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the TARP, the bank bailout.
Yep.
And I don't remember a time when there was so much taxpayer outrage toward a government program. And then, you know, we had the auto bailout, then the stimulus, and as each of these things happened, there's more and more outrage. We've seen the Tea Parties, we've seen that, you know, the town halls were originally for Democratic congressmen to come in and explain, you know, why we need a big, massive government takeover of healthcare. And instead, what's happened is regular people, a lot of people who've never been politically active before, are turning out and arguing, we don't want this. We don't want government in charge of our health care, of our children's health care. So I really believe that we are at a critical point in terms of people's really getting on board with rolling back Leviathan, with getting government out of our lives. It started with the bank bailout, with the TARP, and it's continuing to build, and we see it in the healthcare debate. I think 6 months ago, they thought that was going to be a cakewalk. Well, now we've seen more and more resistance, and every time they talk about it, the level of opposition gets higher. So I think absolutely, this is one of the most encouraging times, perhaps the most encouraging time in terms of the hope for fiscal reform that I can remember.
Leslie Carbone, her book, Slaying Leviathan, The Moral Case for Tax Reform, is available through Amazon.com, available in bookstores nearby you. Click on the link here at hotair.com to pick up your copy of it. Leslie, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
It's been my pleasure.